When Christ walked the earth, he did not only see the hearts of men in his day, he looked forward into the ages, perceiving the woes that would plague generations to come. He saw that the struggles of culture and society were not surface matters alone, but were rooted in deeper causes: the sickness of the soul, the foundations of health, breath, and life itself. We live in the Hebrew decade of Pei, the decade of the mouth. It began September 2019, and it lasts for 10 years. Pei is the 17th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It carries the value of 80. At 80 years old, Moses was called out of obscurity to confront Pharaoh and lead the children of Israel from Egypt's bondage. In this decade, the mouth is not to be used carelessly. For many Zionists, Pei has its own urgent meaning, a season to lift the voice for Israel, to counter rising anti-Semitism and anti-Zionist sentiments. Yet the paradox remains. The decade of the mouth is also a season of covering it. Remember what happened in January of 2020 and we all had to cover our mouth? Perhaps that paradox explains why the crown, the corona, came to the people of Israel, that is me and you, and why nations were silenced and yet summoned to speak. The syllables of Israel hold layers. It's all about the sun, the moon, and God. In this appointed time, the mouth is both commanded to speak and called to restrain. Voices like Charlie Kirk found their mouths closed, not merely by coincidence, but emblematic of the lesson. Speech must not serve idols of politics, money, or power, but only the truth that flows from God. And we know that Charlie Kirk was having a change of heart. We're all able to change our mind if something doesn't feel good, if something isn't sitting right with our inner compass. We should change our mind. Exodus reminds us of the origin. Who gave man his mouth? Who makes him deaf or mute? Who gives him sight or makes him blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Moses, the meekest of men, confessed his weakness with words, and God appointed Aaron as his mouthpiece. That gift of speech that raised up miracles also birthed the golden calf. Aaron, the mouthpiece, became Aaron, the alchemist of false worship. Moses, inexperienced in eloquence, stood firm in meekness and obedience. Aaron faltered. And the lesson is plain. The mouth may build idols of gold, or it may proclaim the golden rule. The letter Pei points us across tongues and ages. In the Greek, the 17th letter is Rho, R-H-O, which means to reshape. And here's where it gets really, really interesting, because R-H-O appears in the blood, the RH factor that marks the breath of life itself. The golden blood of ancient myth finds an echo in rare RH negative bloodlines, mystery woven within physiology. Half the children of some mothers are threatened in the womb by antibodies that strip red blood cells, leaving them gasping for breath. The staff of Asclepius, the rod of Hermes, symbols of healing, speak of blood and breath, of life moving through bone and vessel. Breath is the living covenant of God with flesh. From Helen at Rhodes, the tree goddess, to the dendrites in our flesh, the image is repeated, the tree-like branch that transmits unseen impulses. Dendrites, those branching nerve fibers in your body, mirror the crystalline tree-like patterns of creation. When Jesus opened the eyes of the blind man, the man first saw men as trees walking. not confusion, but a revelation of a pattern. The nervous system receives what eyes cannot: solar, subtle, and energetic information. And in the age of Aquarius, we are taught to perceive that the body is the temple of light, the nervous system a receptor of the unseen. Humanity has allowed confusion and forgotten what it truly means to love our neighbor. And let me just say that Nostradamus foresaw such a time that we are living in today. Too much the heavens weep for the Androgyne begotten. Near the heavens, human bloodshed because death too late, a great people recreated. Late and soon the awaited relief comes, the advisors of first monopoly, the conquerors seduced for Malta, Rhodes, Roman Empire for them exposing their pole. And I'm not going to get into too deep with the androgynous human being, but it's literally a blending of male and female. That Nostradamus' prophetic image of a future was coming to confuse the distinctions between male and female. He says the heavens weep because this confusion is manufactured. It's the result of tampering with hormones, altering the body, and experimenting with human identity. What begins as a cultural ideology becomes a biological crisis, leaving generations uncertain of who they are, how they identify. And it's no accident that in this very decade of the mouth that debates about identity, gender, and speech are constantly dominating the conversation. And you can go back and look. This gender dysphoria is not merely social, it's spiritual and prophetic. It's a prophetic signpost that humanity has exalted its own will. Because when you mess with nature, nature will fight back. There are 1 in 83,000 people that are born like hermaphroditus. And that's a whole nother video. Because if you haven't learned about the Roman and the Greek mythos, then you have no clue that history is repeating itself right now. So what does this age demand of us? It demands consecration of the mouth, honoring the breath, honoring the blood, a recognition that the unseen, the nervous system, the dendrites, the spirit governs our visible life. The covering of the mouth, they look at this covering of the mouth and the breath with the Rona as a disciplinary action. In the decade of pay, words must be measured and sacred. Otherwise, they shut you down. And we have to remember that the breath that fills our lungs is the Spirit of God moving through blood and bone. And they are totally experimenting way too much and causing us to have a disassociation with our spirit. Just as Joseph prepared for famine and Daniel held fast amid courts of power, we must prepare for seasons of scarcity, corruption. And as Nostradamus saw, blood may be shed and nations may collapse. But God will still raise up a remnant, recreated in his own timing. There are so many signs right now. There is so much that is, and it's not just right now. I started writing his story in 2017. Everything that I saw is coming to pass. And when the eyes awaken to the truth, it's scary, it's creepy, but we must speak the truth. I have never covered my mouth, and I will not cover my mouth. I will speak my truth from the heart. The call is bigger than one person. It's only going to get more intense. This decade of pay does not end for the Hebrews until 2030. We have 5 more years to go, and the Hebrew year 5785 began sunset October 2nd, 2024. And it will end at sunset on September 22nd, 2025. And so mark this on your calendar, because the Hebrew year is different from the decade, but it definitely coincides with the decade of the mouth. For the Hebrews, this means a time of divine transition, new beginnings. There's an open window for spiritual growth and opportunity, leaving the past behind. And this year, they think that there is a divine invitation to see beyond the ordinary. The concept of, quote, crossing over is emphasized, with the Holy Spirit guiding people to leave past limitations behind and embark on a fresh new journey. And they take these years, these decades, very seriously. Their ideology is brought forth, and we can all see it. We could all see what was going down when the decade of the mouth began. And we can see that we do not have free speech. We can criticize America, but we cannot criticize Israel. And when you follow the money, you arrive at the shocking root of corruption that Charlie Kirk recognized right before the end of his life. So we all have a choice. Do we cover our mouth, or do we speak our truth? I hope you have learned about the decade of pay, and I hope that you will do your own due diligence and study. We have a ways to go, and we have a lot more to take note of as we observe this time period. All right, guys, until my next video, peace out.